Hello. Welcome. Um, this is my first time doing this, so I hope I'm doing it well. Yeah, so this is me talking about my understanding and theories of Deltarune lore. Um, First, I would like to say, if you haven't played Deltarune, play it. If you're Jasper, I know your situation, you don't have to, do anything about that. If you can hear chirping in the background, those are my birds. The one currently chirping is Lattice. So, to start, there we go. Have to edit this part out. Okay, so hello. I am back. I'm in the town, and I am going to interact with a specific NPC. Basically, this right here is what I'm saying. This right here says that monsters are not made of blood. They do not have blood. They do not know what blood they know what blood is, but they do not have blood. That is that. Bug just hit my window. Sorry. What I'm getting at here is that Susie bleeds. As you can hopefully see on screen, Susie bleeds after she punches a glass prophecy. She is a monster. I just shown that monsters shouldn't be able to bleed. So, what gives? Well, thinking logically, one of three things must be true. Well, two things. There are two options first. One, it's not blood, it's something she ate. Two, it is blood, and she bleeds. With the first option, I don't think that's true. I don't see it as being a reasonable outcome, especially because in Undertale it said that monsters digest, it doesn't pass through them, it disintegrates inside of them. So, presumably Susie is not circulating food throughout her body. And now, if she is bleeding, there's only one other monster that bleeds, being Sans in the genocide route of Undertale, which people also claim is the same thing with Susie, that it's something he ate, being ketchup. I, again, do not believe this is the case, because for the same reason, but according to a theory that he put ketchup in his jacket, how does that doesn't explain the blood in his mouth, and also that just doesn't seem like it would make too much sense character-wise. And so, logically, either Susie, not 100% a monster, something else is going on that we don't know that causes her to have blood, like something like an interaction in the dark world causes her to have blood in the dark world. Or it's not blood, which I said I don't believe. If it's an interaction in the dark world, that doesn't really do much. It's just I guess that would just make it a quirk of the dark world, as in, oh, the dark world makes you have blood. Whatever, doesn't really do much. If Susie is not fully a monster and is part human, that makes it interesting. That gives a interesting narrative to be explored. I've seen theories around that Susie is a part of a human colony, from a human colony. I don't know why they phrase it as colony, it could just be town. but regardless, from a human settlement, and that's why she's embarrassed about her tail. I think adding the hypothesis that she's part human also can add to that, where to make a full hypothesis that she is part human and that is looked down upon where she was previously from. She also mentions in chapter 4, if you go to the diner, that she moved around a lot. I lost what I was saying. Right, Susie, if Susie is part human, that would give reason as to why people innately don't like her. Like from her past towns. And as to why she doesn't have a good home life. I just knocked over my microphone. That's it for the blood discussion. I want to talk about Gaster now. So, I don't think Gaster is one, thing. I don't think the Mystery Man is Gaster and that's case closed. I think Gaster is in pieces. I mean, it says that he was shattered across time and space, and shattered doesn't really imply you're all in one piece. So, I think all the things we think are Gaster, because I've seen some weird theories about Gaster, but the normal ones, like Redacted and the Mystery Man and the piece of Gaster from the Goner. I think all those are pieces of Gaster. Like, he was shattered, and those are different parts of him that was a part of that shattering. It's clear that Chris works with the Knight and Carol Holiday in conjunction with Gaster for a goal, presumably related to Des and or Chris's freedom. I do not believe that the Roaring Knight is Des. I believe the Roaring Knight is Rudy. I believe this because one of the main things that is mentioned is that Grassley implies that the Knight is powerless outside of the Dark World. I believe he's being truthful and he knows this specific. This is information he has been told or acquired in however he did that with the prophecy. And that, I believe, rules out both Des and Carol being the Knight, because Carol very clearly, from what we see of her in the brief appearance she has in chapter 4, she definitely could fight them outside of the Dark World, and Des is kind of known for beating up Chris outside of the Dark World. There are several instances where she is mentioned to have beat Chris with a low bat. I'm pretty sure in the same dialogue with Noelle, with the where Noelle talks about the time Chris used ketchup to fake blood. I believe Des hit them with a wiffle ball bat. But regardless, in Sventon Sweepstakes, there are 2 pages written by Noelle that talk about Des hitting Chris with a wiffle ball bat independently. I also don't believe it's Des because the prophecy states that it is a knife. That the prophecy states that the sword, the dark. Yes, I'm talking about Batman here. The sword that the Roaring Knight uses is a knife. I'll see if I can find the specific... Yes, here it is. The knight which makes with blackened knife shall duel with heroes strife by strife. I believe those two lines in conjunction imply that it's referring to the knight as who I believe to be Rudy, like the Roaring Knight, not Chris, who does make at least one fountain, but because it's dealing with the heroes line, I believe that it's specifically referring to the Roaring Knight, not Chris. So that is why I think Rudy is the Roaring Knight. Some may question how he's able to get to places being in the hospital, and we first off see that he's able to go to the church. He definitely goes into... He's in the church at the start of Chapter 4, before the Dark World is made. So when... So he's very capable of walking to the church. And he might be capable of walking to the Dreamer house. It might take a while, which it certainly does, because the knight shows up at the very end in Chapter 3. And he might even be able to make it to... he might even be able to make it to the school. Probably most likely the school, since it's on the same street. But it's possible Chris could have made the dark fountain, both dark fountains in the school, because Chris is already there, being a student, and we see Chris make the dark fountain in the Dreamer house at the end of Chapter 2. We are presumably with Chris the entire time from Chapter 3 to 4. Like, there's no way they could have made the Dark Fountain in Chapter 4 at all, because we see them the entire time. Well, besides when they take our soul out, but they're in the house. But they're in Noelle's house still, and we know they don't leave, because we can track them. At the end of Chapter 4, after you leave the Dark World, there's a closet next to the podium where Alvin preaches, and Chris refuses to open the door. They will turn the knob, but they won't open the door. I believe that it's implying that the knight is in there, that the Roaring Knight is in there, and I also believe that this adds evidence that this is Rudy, who is the Roaring Knight, because I think if it was Carol or Des, they could just leave in the amount of time while Chris and the Fun Gang is fighting the Titan. So if they stayed, I would assume it's for a reason, because they can't leave, and the reason would be that Rudy can't make it to the hospital in time before someone sees him, before Susie or Chris, or the player actually, see Rudy on his way to the hospital because of his illness. As for his illness in the Dark World, I believe that's what the roaring part in the Roaring Knight is. Affliction from his illness. We also know that Garson, who is straight up dead, gets healed in the Dark World, so it's very possible that Rudy's illness could be negligible in the Dark World and allow him to do the things he does. As to why he would do it, very clearly the answer is Des. I believe both Carol and Rudy are in on this plot for the reason of they want Des back. And I think Chris might also be as well, but I also believe it's possible that it's either or also both. I said that wrong. I believe Chris is in it either for Des as well, or they want their freedom from the player. And it might also be both. We don't have enough evidence to come to a conclusion on that yet. But my hypothesis is that they want both freedom and to help Des. And that's what led them to being involved in the plot. Basically, my hypothesis is that Jasper took control of Chris's soul, and as a bargaining and also like abducted Des, and as a bargaining tool, in order to get her and Chris's freedom back, they would have to carry out the plot of Deltarune. I believe that is the backstory behind the entire game. Like the driving force. Jasper is the driving force. That's what I'm saying. Maybe I should have made a script. I wonder how my editing will make it appear. If I made it sound coherent, or if I made it sound less coherent with editing. I don't know. But regardless, I think that's it. I've been recording for only 40 minutes, but normally I talk about this hours, as Jasper will know. And my children. Hey babies. The children are my birds, by the way. I have Lattice and Pith, both named after the scientific name for parakeets, Melopithecus undulatus. They're adorable. I love them. They are my children. If you watch this, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Ring that bell. Ding dong. I'll talk about other stuff later. Maybe I'll have a script next time. My voice will hopefully be higher. I'm starting to train my voice. Starting. You might be able to tell right now that it's not going... hasn't been going perfectly, because I keep forgetting. But I just need to, like, do it. Thank you for watching, and have a good rest of your day. See you next time.